everyone. Welcome back to Practice English TV. I'm Mark, and I'm really glad you're here with us today.
And I'm Emma. Thanks for joining us. Maybe you're listening on your way somewhere, or maybe you just need a quiet moment to relax and learn.
Today's topic is a little more personal. It's something many people feel at different times in their life.
Yeah, today we're talking about feeling lost in life.
That feeling when you're not sure what you're doing or where you're going, or even what you really want.
It can feel confusing, sometimes a little heavy, but also very normal.
Exactly. Almost everyone experiences this at some point.
So, in this episode, we're going to talk about real feelings, simple ideas, and natural conversations that can help you understand and express this experience in English.
Just listen, take your time, and don't worry if you don't understand everything.
Yeah, just relax and stay with the conversation. You're not alone in this.
Let's get into it together. You know, I was thinking about this the other day. That feeling of being lost, it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's actually very quiet.
Yeah, I agree. It's not always a big moment. Sometimes it's just sitting there and thinking, what am I doing right now?
Exactly. Like everything in your life looks normal from the outside, but inside you feel a little unsure.
Or even a little disconnected, like you're doing things, but you're not really sure why.
I've definitely had moments like that. You wake up, go through your day, but something feels off.
Yeah, like you're following a routine, but your mind is somewhere else.
Right. And sometimes it happens during big changes, like starting a new job or moving to a new place.
But sometimes it just happens for no clear reason.
Here's a simple situation. Imagine you're working every day and everything is stable.
You have a job, you have a routine, and nothing is really wrong.
But one day you sit there and think, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life?
That question can feel really heavy.
Yeah, and you don't always have an answer.
Here's another situation. You see your friends doing well. They seem confident, they have clear goals.
And then you look at yourself and think, why don't I feel like that?
That comparison happens so easily.
Yeah, even when you know it's not helpful, you still do it.
And suddenly, you feel like you're behind, even if you're actually doing fine.
I remember a time when I felt really lost after finishing school.
That's a big moment for a lot of people.
Yeah, for years, everything was clear. You go to class, you study, you take exams.
There's a clear path.
Exactly. But after graduation, it was like, okay, now what?
Yeah, no more clear instructions.
I tried a few different things, but nothing felt right at first.
Did that make you feel stuck?
Yeah, a little. Not completely stuck, but unsure, like I was moving but without direction.
That's a really good way to describe it.
And I think a lot of people experience that at different stages of life.
Definitely. It's not just something that happens once.
Right. Sometimes it comes back again, even later.
Yeah, like when your priorities change, or when life doesn't go the way you expected.
So feeling lost doesn't mean something is wrong with you.
It can actually mean you're thinking more deeply about your life.
And that's not a bad thing.
Not at all. It's just part of being human.
So if you've ever felt this way, even a little, you're definitely not alone.
And today, we're going to explore this feeling in a simple and natural way, step by step.
You know, there was a time when I felt really lost, and it wasn't during a big life change. That's what surprised me.
That's interesting. So everything looked normal from the outside?
Yeah, exactly. I had a job, a routine, and things were stable, but inside, I kept asking myself small questions.
Like what kind of questions?
Things like, do I actually enjoy this? Or is this really what I want long term?
Those are simple questions, but they can lead to very big thoughts.
Exactly. And I didn't have clear answers. That made me feel uncomfortable.
I think that's a very real experience. I had something similar a few years ago.
Really? What happened?
I was doing something I thought I wanted. I had planned it for a long time.
So it should have felt right.
Yeah, but when I finally got there, it didn't feel the way I expected.
That's such a strange feeling.
It really is. You spend so much time working toward something, and then you're like, wait, is this it?
Yeah, like you reached the goal, but something is missing.
Exactly. And I remember sitting alone one evening just thinking about it.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking, if this isn't right for me, then what is?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, and I didn't have an answer right away.
Here's a small situation that I think many people can relate to. You're talking to a friend and they ask, "So, what are your plans for the future?"
Oh no, that question.
Yeah, and you pause for a second.
You don't want to say, I have no idea, but that's kind of how you feel.
So you give a general answer, something safe.
Like, I'm still figuring things out.
Exactly. It sounds okay, but inside you feel unsure.
Here's another situation. You're scrolling on your phone and you see people sharing their achievements.
New job, new house, big goals.
And suddenly, you start comparing your life to theirs.
Even when you know it's not the full picture.
Yeah, you know people only share the good parts, but it still affects you.
I remember one night I stayed up late just thinking about everything.
That sounds familiar.
I kept asking myself questions, going in circles.
Did you find any answers?
Not really, but I realized something important.
What was it?
That it's okay not to have everything figured out all the time.
That's actually a big realization.
Yeah, it doesn't solve everything, but it makes the feeling a little lighter.
I had a similar moment too. I stopped trying to find the perfect answer.
And what happened?
I started focusing on small steps instead.
That sounds much more manageable.
It really is. Instead of asking, what is my whole life plan? I asked, what can I do this week?
That's a much simpler question.
And it helped me feel less lost.
So even though feeling lost can be uncomfortable, it can also lead to small changes.
Yeah, and sometimes those small changes are exactly what you need.
And over time, things start to feel a little clearer.
Not perfect, but clearer, and that's enough to keep moving forward.
Let's slow things down a bit and look at some useful words and phrases you can use to talk about this feeling.
Yeah, these are simple expressions, but they help you explain your thoughts more clearly.
Let's start with the phrase, feel lost.
When you say, I feel lost, it means you don't know what to do or you're not sure about your direction in life.
It doesn't mean you are physically lost, it's more about your thoughts and feelings.
Here's a small situation. Someone asks you how you've been feeling lately.
You can say, I've been feeling a little lost recently.
That sounds honest and natural.
Another useful phrase is, figure things out.
This means to understand something or find a solution.
For example, I'm trying to figure things out.
This is a very common sentence, and it shows you are still thinking and exploring.
Now let's look at the phrase, not sure.
You can say, I'm not sure what I want, or I'm not sure what to do next.
This is simple, but very useful in many situations.
Here's another situation. A friend asks you about your future plans.
You might say something like, I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking about it.
That sounds natural and calm.
Let's talk about the word direction.
When you talk about direction in life, you mean the path you are taking.
For example, I feel like I don't have a clear direction right now.
That's a very common feeling.
Another useful phrase is, take your time.
This means you don't need to rush. You can move slowly and carefully.
You can say to yourself, it's okay, I can take my time.
That can make you feel more relaxed.
Now let's look at step by step.
This means doing things slowly, one step at a time.
For example, I'm trying to improve step by step.
This is a very helpful mindset.
Here's another situation. You feel confused, but you still want to move forward.
You can say, I don't have everything figured out, but I'm moving forward step by step.
That's a strong and positive sentence.
Let's talk about one more phrase.
make a change.
This means to do something different in your life.
For example, I think I need to make a change.
It doesn't have to be a big change, it can be something small.
And small changes can lead to bigger improvements over time.
So even if you feel lost, you still have ways to express yourself clearly.
And when you can express your thoughts, it becomes easier to understand your feelings.
Exactly. Language can help you think more clearly.
And now, let's try using these words in a more natural conversation.
I was thinking about something that happens to me sometimes. It's usually late at night when everything is quiet and I finally have time to think.
Yeah, those quiet moments can feel very peaceful, but they can also bring up a lot of thoughts.
Exactly. I might be sitting with my laptop open trying to do something, but then I just stop and stare at the screen for a while.
That's such a real moment. You're not even working anymore, you're just thinking.
Right. And then I start asking myself questions like, what am I really doing right now? Or is this actually going somewhere?
Those questions can feel simple at first, but they slowly get deeper.
Yeah, and the more I think, the more I realize I don't have clear answers.
That's the hard part, not having something clear to hold on to.
Here's a small situation. Imagine you're talking to someone, maybe a friend or even a coworker, and they ask you, "So, what's your plan for the next few years?"
That question always sounds so simple, but it's actually very difficult.
Yeah, and in that moment, you kind of pause and try to organize your thoughts quickly.
You don't want to seem unsure, so you try to sound confident.
I've done that before. I said something like, "Yeah, I have a plan," but honestly, I was still figuring things out.
Yeah, sometimes we sound more confident than we actually feel.
And inside, I was thinking, I don't really know yet. I'm just trying my best.
That difference between what you say and what you feel can be really uncomfortable.
Another situation is when you're alone again, maybe walking somewhere or sitting on a bus, and your mind starts going in circles.
Yeah, you think about the same questions again and again, but you don't reach a clear answer.
And sometimes you start comparing yourself to other people without even realizing it.
You might think, they seem so sure about their life. Why don't I feel that way?
Exactly. Even when you know everyone has their own path, it still affects you.
Let's imagine a short story. Someone starts a new job, and at first, everything feels exciting and fresh.
They learn new things, meet new people, and feel motivated.
But after a few months, the feeling changes a little.
They start to feel unsure, like something is missing, even though everything looks fine on the surface.
So one evening, they sit down and think, why do I feel this way?
And instead of finding a clear answer, they just realize they need time.
That realization can be quiet but important.
I think one of the hardest parts is not just feeling lost, but pretending that you're not.
Yeah, acting like everything is clear when it's not.
You smile, you say things are fine, but inside you're still searching.
And that takes energy too.
But then something small can change your perspective. Maybe you tell yourself, I don't need to figure everything out today.
That thought can feel very relieving.
Yeah, instead of thinking about your whole life, you just focus on the next step.
Something simple, something you can actually do.
And you say, I'm just trying to move forward step by step.
That sounds much more manageable.
It's not a perfect plan, but it feels real.
And sometimes real is exactly what you need.
You don't need to have everything figured out to keep going.
You just need enough clarity to take one small step.
And over time, those small steps start to connect into something bigger.
Yeah, even if you don't see it right away, progress is still happening.
So in conversations, it's okay to express uncertainty in a calm and honest way.
And that honesty can actually make you feel more confident, not less.
Let's keep going and look at some simple phrases you can use in real situations. Let's look at some useful phrases you can use when you want to talk about your feelings in a simple and natural way.
Yeah, especially when you feel unsure or a little lost. It's helpful to have a few clear sentences ready.
Let's start with a very common one. You can say, I feel a bit lost right now.
That sentence is simple, but it expresses a real feeling.
You can also soften it a little by saying, I feel a little lost these days.
Yeah, that sounds more natural in everyday conversation.
Here's a small situation. Someone asks you, how are things going?
You can say, they're okay, but I feel a bit lost lately.
That sounds honest, but still calm.
Another useful phrase is, I'm trying to figure things out.
This shows that you're thinking and working through something.
For example, I'm not sure what I want yet, but I'm trying to figure things out.
That's a very natural sentence.
Now, let's look at a slightly different idea. You can say, I don't have everything figured out.
That's a great phrase because it's honest and realistic.
You can add, and that's okay.
So the full sentence becomes, I don't have everything figured out, and that's okay.
That sounds very calm and confident.
Here's another situation. A friend asks about your future plans.
You can say, I'm not completely sure yet.
Then you can add, I'm just taking things step by step.
That's a very natural way to respond.
Another helpful phrase is, I think I need a change.
This is useful when you feel stuck or want something different. For example, I think I need a change, but I'm not sure where to start.
That's very real. A lot of people feel that way. Let's look at one more situation. You're talking to someone you trust.
And you want to open up a little.
You can say, I've been thinking a lot about my life lately.
That's a good way to begin a deeper conversation.
Then you might continue, I feel like I don't have a clear direction.
That sentence clearly explains your feeling.
Another simple one is, I just need some time.
That's very useful. It shows you're not rushing.
You can say, I just need some time to think.
And that's completely okay.
Here's one more phrase that can be very helpful. I'm doing my best.
Yeah, that one is simple but very powerful.
For example, I don't have all the answers, but I'm doing my best.
That sounds honest and strong at the same time.
So you can see you don't need complex English to talk about deep feelings.
Simple words can express very meaningful ideas.
And the more you use these phrases, the more natural they will feel.
Exactly. Just take it step by step and speak in your own way.
Now let's finish with a few simple tips and a question for you to think about. Before we finish today, I want to share a few simple ideas that can help you when you're feeling lost.
Yeah, nothing complicated, just small things that you can actually do in real life.
First, try not to panic when you feel this way.
That feeling can be uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean something is wrong.
Sometimes it just means you're thinking more deeply about your life.
And that's actually a good sign.
Here's a small situation. You wake up and feel unsure about your day.
Instead of thinking about everything at once, you focus on one simple task.
Maybe you say to yourself, today I'll just do one thing well.
That makes the day feel more manageable.
Another helpful idea is to accept that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah, a lot of pressure comes from thinking we should know everything already.
But in reality, most people are still figuring things out.
Even if it doesn't look like it from the outside.
Here's another small situation. You're talking to someone and they seem very confident.
You might think they have everything planned.
But the truth is, they might also feel unsure sometimes.
We just don't always see that part.
Another simple tip is to take small steps.
You don't need a perfect plan.
You just need a direction, even a small one.
For example, you can try something new, learn something small, or change your routine a little.
Those small actions can help you feel more in control.
And over time, they can lead to bigger changes.
Let's think about one more short example. You feel stuck, but you decide to do something different this week.
Maybe you read a new book, start a new habit, or talk to someone new.
It's not a big change, but it shifts your energy a little.
And sometimes that's exactly what you need.
Another important idea is to be kind to yourself.
Yeah, don't be too hard on yourself for not having everything figured out.
You can say to yourself, "It's okay, I'm still learning."
That kind of thinking can really change how you feel.
Now here's a simple question for you.
Think about your life right now. Is there anything that makes you feel a little lost?
And what is one small step you can take this week?
You can say something like, I feel unsure about my work, or I want to try something new.
That's already a great way to practice.
And remember, you don't need to solve everything today.
Just keep moving forward, step by step.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
We hope this conversation helped you feel a little more understood and a little more confident.
And if you're feeling lost right now, just know that it's okay.
You're not alone, and things can become clearer over time.
Take care of yourself and keep practicing your English.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now and happy learning.